to Amagentz Podcast, the podcast that brings you thought-provoking discussions and captivating stories from around the world. I'm your host, Captain P, with my fellow co-hosts, Tinas and Joe. On this show, we explore a wide range of topics, from technology and sport to art, culture, and everything in between. Our goal is to inform, entertain, and inspire you, our amazing listeners. So whether you're driving, working out, or just relaxing at home, grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and let's dive into the captivating world of Amagentz Podcast. Always make sure to subscribe and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media. On our Facebook page at Amagentz Podcast for the latest updates. Also on our YouTube channel at Amagentz Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Welcome back to Amagentz Podcast. In this week's episode, we'll bring you updates to week 1 of the Premier League and the upcoming Zimbabwe general elections scheduled for 23 August 2023. So let's dive into this week's episode. Before we get started, I'll welcome my co-hosts, the amazing Tinas and Joe. Tinas, how are you, brother?
Good brother. How you doing?
Good, brother. Joe, how are you, brother?
Good, bro. How are you?
Good. Excited for another week of Amagentz Podcast.
Awesome.
All right. I guess you boys were happy. Premier League is back. Our weekends are back now, isn't it? We can take control of the remote control now.
Oh, my guy, you have no idea.
There's always a struggle for the remote, yeah?
I feel it's a good thing that Hollywood is not pushing out a lot of these series and movies, because that's helping us. There's nothing there to watch on TV, so that gives a lot of time to watch TV. But you don't know, my guy.
Yeah. So let's take a bit of a deep dive on week 1 of the Premier League. It was action-packed, a lot of highlights. We watched thrilling encounters. Some of my predictions out of the window, especially with the Newcastle 5-1 thrashing of Aston Villa.
That was pounding, man.
That was a pounding. So let's get into it. Let's get into the results. Let's have a chat. All right. So we'll start the big game of the weekend. Of course, it's your boys' 2 teams, Liverpool versus Chelsea. I'll open the floor to you, gentlemen, and I'll give my thoughts on that game. It was 1-0 draw, exciting game. Liverpool had a hot start. Chelsea came back stronger. All right. Tinas, You look happy.
Actually, the guys played better than I thought they would, to be honest. And I think it was just a snippet of what's to come. They seem to be playing a very good passing game. They seem to have a solid midfield. I mean, obviously, there's still challenges in the attack in the front, converting those chances into goals. But I think we're trying to get there. And I think predictions could change slightly if everything goes well, but I'll hold on to my predictions, but maybe in the next few weeks I'll be able to say more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Liverpool, I was quite proud with Liverpool, the way they played, and Salah was in good performance mode. He was shining. And Chelsea, man, I didn't expect Chelsea to pull through. But anyway, in the second half, they did very well. We got to give them their props, eh?
Yeah, looking at the possession stats, 65% possession to Chelsea. I wouldn't think that from a Chelsea team, looking at their recent history. Liverpool only having 35%. Can we say people now know Jurgen Klopp's tactics? Are they not effective anymore? Or the Liverpool players have just gotten a bit tired? Are we seeing the Jurgen Klopp Borussia Dortmund effect of where he burns out the players?
I think one thing that stands out for me was the way they handled the Caicedo issue, where Klopp used to think that spending money in the Premier League is not really a big thing, and he was very reluctant on trying to sign in those big players, so to speak. He had a full squad, so maybe he didn't need to. But I think that sort of thinking made him believe that, he doesn't need that. And I think that lapse in thinking also made him feel like he's still on top of things. But then I think the moment they lost this guy and they really needed this guy, and then they realized, you know what, maybe the way I've been working is not what I thought it is. And definitely it should sort of change the way he thinks about football in the English Premier League. I mean, we're looking at teams like Newcastle. Newcastle is bringing in big bucks, and they look at the results.
So which guy are you talking about? Is it the loss of Sadio Mane?
No. Moises Kai. What's
Yeah, he's coming here for 115 million pounds. Is Chelsea taking him now?
I believe he told Liverpool last week that he doesn't want to go to England. He wants to go to Chelsea.
Yes, it's official.
Yeah,
it's official now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of excitement with that guy, and
that's a kick in the gut for us, man.
Yeah, definitely.
But that Chelsea midfield three is gonna be it's a young midfield three. I said it in our group chat. You've got Enzo Fernandez. You've got Lavia, who's potentially might be signed from Southampton, and then you've got Moses Caicedo. Man, that's lots of young energy. You can put it on a comparable level, not at the same level as the Real Madrid with Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, but that's the midfield of the next generation. Those are top players.
So you say those kids, they will be performing better than Gallagher?
Yeah, Gallagher. If Chelsea completes the signing of Lavia, Gallagher won't be playing.
Because remember, they were scared that he was almost let go. It's only that Pochettino, I think, just said, you know what, I think I see potential in this guy, keep him. But this is before Caicedo moves in. So after he moves in, you don't know. You could be
he's on the bench.
Yeah, you could finding he's playing less games, and who knows.
All right. Other results. Man City, the champions, just continued where they left off. A resounding 3-0 victory. I think they didn't even break a sweat. Erling Haaland, he was quiet in pre-season. He just flicked a switch. 3-0. Burnley against Vincent Kompany, the Burnley former Man City player. Again, Pep Guardiola is just still proving he's the best coach in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I'm starting to fall in love with Man City, man. It's it's one of those times where these guys are going to be pulling through to the top, and there's nothing you can do about it.
But talking about Haaland for a second, I was watching a video, one of his videos on Instagram, and apparently he needs, for him to, obviously as a player, if you're his level, you're looking to become the best of what you can do. But then I was hearing that for him to be able to equal or to beat Ronaldo's scoring or total goals, he needs to reach a maximum of 43 goals a season.
That's how many goals per match?
Until
he's 38, for him to be able to beat Ronaldo's.
Yeah, but you see with Ronaldo, he had the advantage of a good international squad, which would go deep into tournaments. So that adds the goals tally. And as well with Cristiano, he played as well at Real Madrid. It was winning, most of going into deep runs in all the competitions. Champions League, Copa del Rey, the La Liga, constantly playing. Plus as well, we don't know about his training regimen and physique, Haaland, if he can have a long career till 38, because we know the training regimen of Cristiano Ronaldo. So again, those are all other factors in terms of health. But I think 43 goals a season. 53 last season. 43 it's doable for anyone.
But the question of consistency, because this is every season.
He's only going to get better.
For a good 13 years, bro.
He's only going to get better.
He's also going to get bigger.
Yeah, he's going to get bigger and stronger. But as I said, physiotherapy, sports nutrition is always upgrading and updating year by year.
I think the way he missed the spot is Ronaldo started really younger, and he because Ronaldo, I think, started in his teens scoring goals. But for Haaland, I think prolifically, he started after his 20s.
prolifically, but at 19 for Salzburg, if you add his goals from Salzburg, he can catch up from 19.
But to be fair, we can count the matches that they played and average the scores that they have scored, over their career. And you can tell this one is much better a player than the other one, because Ronaldo started at a younger age, so he's bound to have more scores than someone who started at a later age.
Yeah, that's what I was preliminary to.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Let's wait and see. We've got until the end of the season to at least have an insight as to whether he's going to match up, because obviously what he does this season also comes into question regarding this whole spectacle. We'll wait and see.
All right. On our Newcastle watch, Eddie Howe watch, again, as I said, that was a beating, 5-1 against Aston Villa. And Aston Villa, we had put them as one of those top teams. With that performance, I don't think they can make the top half of the league. What do you think about Newcastle? They've got some good signings, good players. One of their big signings of the season, played very well. Sandro Tonali, Italian international from AC Milan.
Yeah,
but pretty much...
Was his first match, eh?
Yeah, first match. First
and they go there. Yeah.
Good performance.
Look, when I look at the stats, they're pretty much, they're not very different. So I think maybe it's just an issue of converting chances, because look, man, possession 53-47 to Newcastle, passes 542 to 447. They're not very different passes. Pass accuracy, they're all at 85%. Fouls, Newcastle at 12. This one at 17. Like, when you look at the stats, these teams were playing almost at par, but it's the goal scoring.
So are you saying that Aston Villa just had a bad day in the office?
Perhaps they need to invest more on the front end of things, like, your strikers, people who can, it's almost the same issue that Chelsea has. You could have very strong defense, a very strong midfield, but if you don't have that wizard who's always looking for the goals like we had in Drogba back then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, but what about how didn't he play a significant role this match? That's where the team managers come in handy.
Well, we have to see whether he lives up to, because remember what Captain P was saying last week. He was saying maybe we could find a Mourinho, coming in there.
I don't see that happening.
Is that a dig at me? Is that you're trying to have?
No, brother. We were just holding at your word. Yeah, we're just saying, my guy. We see what you're saying, and maybe you could be right. Let's wait and see.
Now we'll see how we go. Look, as I said, other good results. Brighton beat Luton Town, newly promoted Luton Town. Arsenal continued again their form from last year. Played a very good game, but a bit touch and go at the end. Good goals. Bukayo Saka. Man, I don't really like Arsenal personally, but Bukayo Saka, man, he's just going up a level. Every time I see him play, he's just going up another level. So Arsenal, we'll see how we go. I think there will be another main challenger. I've got them in the top 4, but at the bottom end of the top 4. But we'll see how we go. Okay, last but not least, can I rant for like 2 minutes?
Go for it.
Can I rant? That performance by Man United was the most horrible thing I've seen in years. That was like watching paint dry, man. Absolutely abysmal. No cohesion. So disjointed. Man, we're an explicit channel. That was a bloody crap performance, right? Mason Mount, I would put him on a bus back to Chelsea and I'll pay for the ticket as well, right? 55 million, and he takes the iconic number 7 shirt for that nonsense he pulled off today. All right? We'll give him benefit of the doubt. It's his first game. Don't get me started on Marcus Rashford. He plays well last season. He gets the contract. He goes back to his shithousery, not tracking back, not running back. It was an absolutely turgid performance. Yes, we won 1-0, But can you imagine Liverpool coming and having 23 shots in Old Trafford? Would lose 5-0. Imagine Man City having 23 shots. That'll be another 6-1.
On that one, I'm gonna disagree on that one because Man U, if they do well in rearranging inside, they've got an excellent goalkeeper. That I give you. Onana, man, is gonna be a goalkeeper of the season.
Okay, that's a bit of another hot take. Big prediction there.
He's gonna be a goalkeeper.
I had a very high regard for him, but that goal that he got scored, was it last week? That chipper, I think it's too much of a chip on his. So what was he doing way out there?
Come on, that's not a chip. Look, he's a sweeper keeper. Alisson has had that. What's his name? The Man City goalkeeper has had that, right?
No, but what are you doing up there?
He's a sweeper keeper. We're playing a high line. If the ball comes through, he sweeps it up. We recycle possession. That's the modern goalkeeper. Edward Mendy.
Well, that's the modern goal scoring advantage you have on people.
Yeah, but Man City have been doing that. Liverpool has done that with Alisson, sweeper keeper role. But man, Wolves, if they had a good striker, I wouldn't be smiling on this episode of the podcast because that was an atrocious performance, man.
Oh, yeah. These Wolves guys, tell me more about them. They just came from nowhere and caused chaos for Man U, eh?
Nah, they've always been a bogey team. Looking at the last 10 years, 10 years, none of the games have been blowouts. Either Man U has won 1-0, 2-1, 1-0. We've lost a couple. So it's sort of our bogey team, like a Southampton, where the game is always hard,
Yeah.
But look, the disjointedness in the performance today, man.
You're not happy.
I almost threw the remote in the TV, man.
That's typical of you guys, though. You Manchester United fans, you always expect the most from your team.
No. It's not expecting the most. But look, Casemiro was left in an island, right? He was left in an island, right? Every time Wolves were getting the ball, it was 3-4 guys versus 2-3 defenders. I could see it. The whole stadium could see it, but the coach maintained that whole system.
Maybe for him it was a first game of the season. Let's wait, let's see.
Yeah. Let's see
how the guys are playing, how they're gelling, because obviously you don't want to jump the gun and start moving people around before you have an idea of how well your team is playing. It's giving the guys who are not playing well, it's giving them a chance so that if they sit on the bench next match, you don't have an argument. Sit on the bench.
Yeah, so that leads us to next week's, matches for the upcoming week 2. Man, week 1 is already finished. Imagine.
So, it's finished, but coming back to Man U,
okay, yeah.
It's quite lousy that the whole match, after struggling, you get a goal from midfielder. Where were your strikers?
Oh, defender, Joe.
Defender, sorry. From a defender.
Did you even watch the game or you're reading an article?
No, Varane. I was watching it, man.
Can you say Varane is a midfielder? We'll mute you for saying that nonsense.
He's a mid defender.
Come on. So next week we've got another big game. I think we've Tottenham Man United. That's a big Saturday evening game. It'll be early hours for us here, down under. Another exciting game, London Derby, West Ham Chelsea. And then you've got Man City Newcastle. So now we'll see if Newcastle are really the team to beat. They're facing the champion second game in. So yes, it's a good start to week 1. Good review, gentlemen. Let's continue to watch the games. So every week on Amagentz, we'll have our weekly review of the English Premier League. And also from next week, we'll start to have our weekly review of the Spanish La Liga. So watch this space. Football season is back. We're all excited. And then come towards the end of the year, Tina's is going to be smiling at this. We'll be talking about the NBA. We'll be watching it. We'll be on LeBron watch. Is this the last championship for LeBron? So watch this space. And before we head off, Neymar going to Saudi Arabia. What's your quick thoughts, gentlemen?
Why not? For the money.
I think though is this is his play. This is a player who's held the headlines for so long, and the fact that he hasn't had a lot of success. There was a lot of hype around his name, but I just feel like he hasn't had a lot of success in his game for the past 3 or so years. And I think going Saudi Arabia for him is just saying, you know what, I don't want to play that much good football anymore. I just want to get paid.
Yeah, look, I think on one of week 1 and week 2 episodes, we spoke about the evolution of the Saudi Pro League.
Yeah.
And the pool. Now on Twitter, the Messi Cristiano Ronaldo battle is about who's pulling the best players to their league. And everyone, you see the memes, Cristiano has got Benzema, Mane, Neymar all coming to the Saudi league, and Messi's just by himself on his own little island. But as I said, look, the Saudi league have got money. And I said it's good for the football. I think people were a bit saying, oh, you've gotten over the hill players, but still bringing Neymar. He's still in the middle, towards his middle end of his prime. It's a good move. You've got Mane there, again, Ruben Neves. So good on the Saudi league. And yeah, wish them all the best up there. Let them enjoy the money. They've worked hard for it. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Do you think he's going to perform very well after, the surgery that he had earlier this year?
That's the question. We'll see how we go. But as I said, Saudi league it's not at a high level, of course, as European leagues, as we know, still developing.
So it's more like retirement for him now.
Yeah, it's more of retirement, in my perspective.
It's a lot like retirement. This is exactly what I was trying to say. That is, look, he's just said to himself, you know what? I don't want to play, that hard running games anymore or whatever I'm just taking it easy. Yeah. Because you know what? I was looking at the way Ronaldo plays there. He's playing like a king. The ball comes to him when he wants it, and when he doesn't get it, his arms are in the. He's showing everybody he's shocked. The ball didn't come to me. What's going on? Now, I was watching a video clip last week. The guy chose to shoot for goal, and he didn't pass the ball to him, and he was like, "What is going on here?" Like that's how they want to be treated there. But that's not football. That's almost like Sunday football in the UK or boozers in Africa. Like what are we doing here? We're playing boozers or what? Like we don't have one central player. We want, to have challenging football, something to look forward to. So I don't know. I just feel like that Saudi league right now as it is, yes, they're using the money, but are they going to really improve the quality of the game? I don't know, because most of those players who are playing in that league are nobodies.
Yeah, you can say nobodies, but as I said, gives an opportunity.
Okay, maybe nobodies is not the right term to use, but they're still low-level players.
Yeah,
that haven't played on a very competitive stage.
But the league always improves because other players from other leagues, like your Moses Caicedo, because a Saudi league wasn't there a few years back. It wasn't as prominent. It was there, but not as prominent. But now a player like Moses Caicedo, maybe he doesn't want to go to Europe. He might want to go to Saudi league. He might want to play with Neymar for a couple of years and then go to Europe, for example.
How many years do you think it's gonna take for them to have a competitive league that rivals, I don't want to say the English Premier League, but that rivals any other league, first rate?
Tennis with money, it doesn't take too long because it's about buying, good players and good management. That's it.
Yeah, but how long do you think? Because these are just 4 clubs so far that are spending money.
Yeah, it will take time. As I said, my prediction is within the next 5 to 7 years, if the continual development of grassroots, because they have to have a grassroots development, where these clubs now go and scout. The scouting networks have to improve. It's not about paying the marquee players. It's now going to build grassroots where they go and recruit in South America and Africa, and then kids are getting scholarships to go to Saudi. Then you'll start to see the development of the Saudi league. Everyone aspires to be in the La Masia Academy in Barcelona, wants to go to Man U Academy, Chelsea Academy, depending on their love. Very soon, we might hear Al Nassr, some of those teams in Saudi Arabia where they've got an academy and they're now starting to do local recruitment and build a good scouting network.
Yeah, Captain, you've well said that. I must say, I agree with you. He really poured out his heart there.
No, it was just commentary. Just commentary. But yeah, no, thank you so much, man, for that good first segment. The football season is back. Sports season is back. All the way to May, all the way to June. We'll continue with the NBA. We'll even talk about the NFL. It's going to be all fun here at Amagentz.
Luckily, I don't have assignments to do.
Luckily, we finished all that. So we've got lots of time to be on the sports and the news. So as we change a bit of pace, first of all, we want to say condolences to the family of the short candidate for Ecuador, who was in the Ecuador presidential race, Fernando Villavicencio. Was killed at a campaign rally. Pass our condolences to the family. But yeah, what are your quick thoughts about that? You know, in this era, 21st century modern world, are we still killing candidates because we don't like their policies?
Wow. I think he was trading on the cartels. He was in their garden because he was talking, tough. Where he knows that the government is completely overrun by the cartel. And if you look at, some of the articles like on Yahoo News, they were talking about that the whole thing was orchestrated. The former, president of Ecuador was saying that, the whole thing was orchestrated by the security forces. Because what happened was his bodyguard, one of or two of his bodyguards were in on it, because how could they let him into a car that is not bulletproof? And then 2 minutes later, a car with bulletproof arrives, his usual car with bulletproof. And when he went into that car with no bulletproof, the driver was not in there. He was the only one in there. So it's a setup.
It was clearly a setup from the.
That was the first comment I made. You
remember the message you sent to us saying,
"Where is this that bulletproof?" Like he was. I think it was a pickup truck.
Yeah.
And as soon as the bullet started ringing, the bodyguard started running away. The one who was holding him into the car, as soon as the bullet started ringing, he literally ducked and started running.
Yeah. So
what is your job as a bodyguard if you're going to run away as soon as you hear bullets ringing? Like it was I don't know.
Yeah. So we'll read the statement from the BBC. So it says Fernando Villavicencio had received threats from a gang calling itself Los Chorneros last month, and had been given a security detail. He had been given a security detail by the government, right? And now later details are emerging that there may be some foul play from the security detail. Following his murder, a video appeared on social media. Heavily armed men claimed responsibility of the murder, and they belong to Los Lobos, the wolves, who are the rivals of Los Chorneros. So again, as Joe had alluded, it was an issue of some of his rhetoric against the cartel. But hey, man, it's pretty scary that these things are still happening in the world. Thought we had modernized and moved on from that. And hey, again, condolences to his family.
Yeah, and adding on to that, the funny thing, one of the perpetrators was killed in custody.
Were they caught?
One of the shooter was caught on site, on scene. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and 6 more people were arrested, for this.
But
of course, the mastermind is in prison, right? Has been transferred to maximum prison. But the guy, one of the guys who were the shooters, or who was the shooter,
they're trying to tie in loose ends.
Yeah, of course. Of course, because it'll link back to the government officials.
Exactly. Quote unquote.
Quote unquote government officials.
That's not my statement or my thinking. The former president is the one who is all over saying that, alluding to that. And he's sitting pretty in Mexico City there.
Wow, that's crazy. But, I just think if you're going to be in opposition, especially in the third world countries, Africa, South America, man, you're going to do it. Make sure you are well protected. Make sure you have the right people around you. Because as we have seen in a lot of these countries, it's always the people that are close to you that are going to kill you. Like we even go back to Africa, Kabila in DRC, the father of the former president, he was also a president at that point. His bodyguard killed him. Somebody he walked with every day.
It's about your security detail, the people who you trust. Yeah, so that's what happens. Fantastic. All right, gentlemen, let's turn our attention to Zimbabwe. All right, the country is preparing for a significant event in August, this month of August, next week, the 23rd, the general elections, and the political landscape of Zimbabwe is poised as the major parties gear up in this nation history election. Why I call it a historic election, it's 40 years after 1980, and those who voted in 1980, prior to some of us being born, are now in their twilight of their years. Those who were 30 are now 70s. Those who were in their 20s are now in their 60s. So for the younger generation who are up there in their 20s and 30s, this is a type of 1980 election to set the country on a different path, new ideas, fresh agenda, and new opportunity. What we'll never do, we'll never trivialize what the ruling party has done, giving us our freedom through the liberation struggle. That can never be trivialized, and that will be forever appreciated for many years and many generations to come. Whether we have new leadership or we have the same existing leadership, that will always be appreciated. But however, the country after 43 years may be, and the question is, as one of our listeners said, is it time for Zimbabwe to have a third republic? Tina's Joe, the floor is open to you.
I think it could be time, but I don't think they're well prepared. Look, man, talking about everything that has happened in Zimbabwe, it's just been a sad journey where I won't even get into what Mugabe had in store for us, but want to look at 2017 going forward. A lot of hope, a lot of maybe not realization, but maybe a lot of thinking, for lack of a better term, that things are going to change to the better. For me, when Mnangagwa came into power, I think a lot of it, because he's been somebody who's been in politics since the beginning of Zimbabwean politics, since the beginning. For me, it was a matter of legacy more than anything. So whatever he was going to do should reflect what he has gone through in the past and what he wants to leave behind when he leaves. So I thought, because of his history, what he would want to leave behind is a better Zimbabwe for everybody. But the last few years have just proven that, you know what? People don't change that much. Who he was in ZANU-PF before and who he is now is pretty much the same. They are doing a lot of changes in the country, but those changes, we can't really call them advancements. Those are just things that are helping the country, stand on its feet.
Can I just step in on that point? Those are basic essentials. We can't clap our hands because ambulances have been delivered at the hospital.
Well, I won't even talk about that. I'm just talking about the roads.
We can't clap our hands because we now have a modernized international wing. All the cities in Zimbabwe, 43 years later, should have had an international quality airport.
Regional airport. Exactly. Exactly. And even those helicopters, since they came in, I've never heard one person who has been ferried by those helicopters from Berengwa to Harare Hospital, because anyway, Harare Hospital is not working, it's not functioning properly. Yeah. So, yeah, it's.
So look, as I said, the incumbent leadership of His Excellency President Mnangagwa, has done some things from 2017. Some things have been done, some improvements. We talk about the international airport. That's an improvement. Some of the roads have been improved. However, this is the remnants of the First Republic and the New Republic. And as some of our listeners have sent their messages and their emails before the recording of this episode, asking the question, they believe and they want a third republic. Someone else given a new opportunity, new fresh ideas. If the opposition doesn't work out, 5 years later, they can be booted out. That's the system people want. The system which is out here in the West, in your places, in your UKs, in your Europes, in your Americas. People can talk about one-party states, but the examples that they use of China, Russia, people have got the basic essentials which they need.
I think maybe, I don't know if Joe has something to say, but I just wanted to hop in and just say, coming from what I was saying, we have expected a lot from these guys. But that being said, what every Zimbabwean has gone through, I also don't feel like the opposition has been working towards a real solution of what to do.
No, the opposition don't want a solution now, because if there is a solution, like you remember when we were discussing last time, I said the opposition can actually make change even if they are not in power. But they don't want to make that change, because if they make changes, people will become comfortable and their message is distorted. Now they won't be able to say, look at ZANU-PF, things are tough. So they want things to be tough. In Zimbabwe, they
don't want to work. They don't want to work for the government.
Yes,
they don't want to do the government's work. Basically,
you see what happened when they did the GNU. Things were becoming very good. People were now becoming comfortable, and when the GNU was dismantled, now the forces were pulling against, on opposite directions, and then things started to get tough again. If they come together and work together for the people, like what's his name, the CCC leader, Chamisa, his message is, if you are ZANU-PF, come. If you're MDC, come. If you are whatever party you are, come. Let's work together as a new Zimbabwe. That spirit has to continue, even if ZANU wins. Even if Uniting Zimbabwe wins, even if Ndonga wins, we need that spirit. So what we need in Zimbabwe is education for our people. Not education as in mathematics, English. Political education. People, they need to understand the political atmosphere, the political arena. So people, they don't fight over their leaders. Like I've been scrolling through the social media, you see one guy, a ZANU-PF guy, was being beaten. They were pounding on this ZANU-PF guy, and that's MDC mob pounding on him. And then I was scrolling on the media. I saw this article saying an MDC member was killed.
MDC or CCC?
CCC.
CCC. I don't know the difference. Help me, guys. These guys, they are confused. Yes, it's MDC, CCC, MDCT, MDC. What was the other one?
No. Because look, when we talk of the MDCs, look, anytime we talk of MDC, I think of just a party that was infiltrated by ZANU-PF, and they were left to be, breadcrumbs in a church somewhere.
Yeah. So I was saying that, the CCC member was killed in Harare by in Glenora, by the thugs. Who knows?
By apparent, as I said, we cannot specify or authenticate. It's alleged ruling party supporters, and the other attack was by the alleged opposition party members. So we cannot authenticate that until that is clarified by the courts. Go ahead, Joe, with your point.
So unless we stop fighting each other and work together as a people, because these nincompoops, whoever they are from, what opposition, whatever party they are from, for time immemorial, we are not seeing any improvement. We are still suffering. And like I said, you don't need to be in power to bring change. So we are all to blame for the current situation.
Okay. And my point as we continue in the opposition and the leader of the opposition, there's a news article from the News Hawks, right? From Friday, the 11th of August, which says Triple C has no voters roll with 10 days to go for the elections, right? Mm-hmm. They don't even have a copy of the voters roll.
Yeah, because I think the voters roll is like being charged like 250K or something like that. For you to have it, you have to have, don't quote me on this, but I think I saw it somewhere on social media. Again, I can't verify this because I have no means of verifying this, but I think when I read something on Twitter, it was saying you have to pay for the voters roll. And I think it was like $250,000.
So are we saying that the opposition doesn't have $250,000 to get the voters roll?
They don't. Look at the fleet that Chamisa moves around in. There's no uniformity in that fleet. It shows me that those are cars coming from well-wishers. He has one Toyota vehicle pickup truck. He has a Prado. He has a this. He has a that. There's no uniformity in what he's doing. I'm not saying he has to have similar vehicles for him to move, but the motorcade that he moves with is just a telltale sign that he's getting things from well-wishers. There's no...
So
at that level...
They don't get funded by the government?
They're supposed to be, but I don't know if they are. Yeah, because I think last I heard was, I think Monzora got some funds, but he got the funds because he was quote unquote the main opposition. So I'm not well versed, but again, there are a lot of facts here to be checked. But from what I heard last time, that's what was being said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. As I said, we look into it. Opinion. We've got listener mail. Fortunate enough that people contact us on our various platforms, sending these messages and asking the question. The question to all our listeners: is Zimbabwe due for a third republic? 43 years. What new ideas can come out of the same crew and team which has been there for 43 years? They might try and spin and say Second Republic, but 2/3 were from the First Republic, were in the Second Republic. And they've added a couple of people here and there, affiliates of theirs. What changes? What vision? Looking at the ruling party social media pages, there's no vision, there's no manifesto, there's no, this is what we're going to do for you for the next 5 years. It's all talking about His Excellency going to speak at ZCCC church rally. He's going to speak about this at some rally. It's nothing to build about the future of the country. That's why people are now saying that let's have a go with the Third Republic. If the Third Republic doesn't work, we'll find another option. You know, we use the words of His Excellency from 2017. The voice of the people is the voice of God. If the people vote for a Third Republic, is the ruling party going to say the voice of God has spoken?
Well, I think we all know that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just basing it from past elections where, you know, there's just been a fierce competition from MDC at some point, from CCC, the last presidential election. There's always going to be some sort of contention regarding the full results of the election, because, you know, there's always going to be some misdemeanors being pointed out, especially towards ZANU-PF to have, perpetrated and things like that. So I don't know, but I just wanted to read here. It's a quote. It's from a website called All Africa. And it was just touching on the by-elections that happened last year in 2022 regarding the elections. I think they were parliamentary. Were they parliamentary? Yeah.
Some were parliamentary, some were council.
Yeah. And so apparently in Zimbabwe, disbursement of money to political parties is thereby notified in sections 3(2) in brackets of Political Parties Finance Act 211, that the total amount of money payable to political parties in respect to the years beginning 1st January 2022 and ending 31st December 2022 is $500 million. So they did not specify whether this was, I think this was Zim dollars. It's not US dollars. So this is the amount of money that was shared last year. And of that money that was shared, ZANU-PF received 350,000 and change, and which is like 70.3% of that money, while MDC pockets 149, almost 150, which is the remainder. I think that's about 29.7%. There's no CCC here spoken about. CCC had already launched. They were not fully launched, but they had already had a launch already. They were not included in this. So this is just, speaking about what I was saying, that the money is there to be distributed, but I don't think everybody gets a good share of what should be coming their way. Because I think the government should even be buying those guys' vehicles. They need to go around. That should be part of the constitution. They should have the basic things they need to be able to compete.
But we are talking about the historic records of the current government and the previous government.
Yeah.
Do you think allocation of resources would be made for the opposition to have vehicles to go and do rallies?
Look, when I say allocation of vehicles, I'm not talking about the whole party. I'm not saying let the whole CCC have vehicles, because no, that doesn't work. Because anyway, CCC hadn't at that point fully stated who is who in their party. So what we're just saying is, as an organization, give us a share, whatever it is. If you give us 5 vehicles, okay, we'll use the 5 vehicles the way we want to use them. Yeah. If you give us 3, we'll use them the way we want to use them. But what you're saying is, we are willing to invest not invest really. We are willing to help you as the opposition to be able to do whatever it is that you're doing. Because remember, opposition in politics is not really an opposition in the case of boxing, where I want to beat you up.
It's a voice of reason.
It's saying, listen, my guy, okay, you think you have other things that you have to say to us? Okay, let's give you the opportunity to point us out. Any leader who is a right leader will take some sort of negative feedback. And I think as a strong leader, you need that negative feedback. You can't always be in the right, because there are people who see things differently from you. And back in the day, one of the guys I used to talk to a lot about mentorship issues he showed me a very good example. He told me, listen, young lad, do you know that banks, at that point, banks can actually take an engineer who has nothing to do with banking and bring him in. It's not about you being the best banker, but it's about how you think and you applying yourself in the current environment and showing us something different that we can do that we might, as bankers, not have looked at. So in this case, we're talking about politics. If an opposition somebody, say for lack of better people, say Tendai Biti, has a different way of looking at things than your finance minister or whoever, listen to Tendai Biti. And if what he says makes sense, then apply it. It doesn't matter whether Tendai Biti is for CCC, MDC, or what have you. If, what's that girl? There's this girl, I always forget her name, the very young girl who was in prison at some point, Namatai or something like that. If she has a point in what she's saying, listen to her and give her a stage and say, listen, young girl, come here, speak what you're speaking. How does what you are saying line up to what we are doing? Are you speaking sense? What we're doing, is it speaking sense? No, what we're doing is not making sense. What you're saying, it makes sense. Let's apply. That's when you begin to see transition and hopefully the workings of a better government, because now we're speaking inclusion. Yes. But as it is right now, there's nothing like that can be ever done, because you deemed as though you want to come in and take over what we can do, but what we are doing.
Yeah, ego.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not going to happen until people are educated, because people, they don't know.
Look, we can talk about people being educated, but as I said at the start of this Zimbabwean segment, it is our 1980 again, all over, where people need to make a decision, because another 5 years of the current circumstances are not good for the people.
Hang on. So when you say decision, are you talking about changing the current regime? Or with deciding
with some of the sentiments which have come from our listeners, I think the opportunity of a third republic is fair for everyone. new blood, new energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing which we can say is to say to the ruling party and all its leaders, thank you so much. Enjoy the time. You gave us our freedom. You liberated us. Just stand aside.
Okay. What about getting a united front? Get the young fellas with the young blood from the ruling party, young fellas with young blood from the opposition party.
We haven't seen any young fellas and young blood from the ruling party. There was one we thought we had so much hope, who was supposed a technocrat, but has not even shown any of those technical skills. And we're talking about the Minister of Finance.
Look,
I don't know much about it.
In Zimbabwe, young blood, there's no young blood, because young blood, when we want to talk of young blood right now, possibly the youngest of people that are being involved with ZANU-PF, who can be possibly in a place of power or position simply because of their money situation, can be, the likes of, I don't know if I can mention names here.
No, it's all right. Yeah, we know the ones who are propagating a certain narrative on social media.
Exactly. So I mean, those guys, to be honest, we're looking at people who are more money hungry than anything. So there's no way that somebody who's already money hungry right now, who's using the system to benefit and make money, is going to come in and start calling for change. To say, no, you know what, I love money, but you know what, let's give money to the poor. There's no way that's going to happen. You know what, I love money, but let's build roads. Let's build hospitals. There's no way that's going to happen. So already there's a culture that has already been set up, and the possibly younger people who could line up to become Zimbabwe's next leaders are already tasting the blood, and they're raging like sharks, man. They're ready to go. As soon as they get that opportunity, they're gone. Yeah,
because look, as I said from the earlier point, which one of our listeners said, is saying, information minister or information secretary tweeting about ambulances and Dettol kits. It doesn't make sense in any society. Those are basic, essential needs. Families in Zimbabwe, we can talk about previous facilities. We were born post 1980 and we saw in the 90s. There are certain things where basic essentials, whether you were middle class, you could go and enjoy in Harare. But in a recent trip to Harare, within the last 12 months, those places are full of grass above your head height. And I'm a tall person, right? Some things are so displaced, so in shambles, so in tatters. The Second Republic was given an opportunity. They were given a clean slate. The Second Republic has not done what it's promised. Let's give another option to another person.
Some will argue that you haven't given us enough time. What do you think?
6 years.
Yeah.
6 years. 6 years. In other countries, those are two terms. Other countries are 2-3 year terms. In 3 years, you can do so much development.
In 6 years, they argue we got roads. We got the Bay Bridge Harare highway almost completed.
That's a 2-lane.
Airport.
Okay. Their country, which they look east about, have got high-speed trains now, right?
Yeah, they have plans to do it.
Which plans?
If I play devil's advocate here.
No, you can play devil advocate. The current original NRZ line is not working. How can you now have plans to have a high-speed rail when the old coal train is not running and it's not functional?
Well, they want a new network. That's what they're talking about. They want spaghetti highways, like what Chamisa said. They have the Mbudzi interchange.
Gentlemen,
that's under construction right now.
Respectfully to the leader of the ruling party, His Excellency, and all his team. They are now in their twilight of their years. They are no longer visionaries. They were visionaries in the 70s and 80s. Now it's time for a new vision, new energy to come through. Again, that's the sentiment of most of our listeners, and reading some of the mail and some of the concerns and some of the cries, you can start to lean in that direction from my own personal perspective.
Guys, can I just ask something though? We have a lot of people in Zimbabwe who are in the diaspora, and, I'm just trying to think here. If we are to weigh heavily on population itself and ask what the population has done itself. Like, do we really think that people have managed to reach out? Well, not reach out. If they really managed to extend themselves and really speak about what they really want for the country, is there like an all-out voice that has come out and said, "Listen, guys, we want change"?
Look, as I said, I always refer back to the listener mail. The listener mail, there's fear of reprisal. Hence why they've come to us anonymously to say, hey, can you talk about this? So there's that fear of reprisal. Yes, some people have spoken out and they are voicing their opinion. But as Joe alluded at the beginning, some of the social media posts where two of the leading contending parties, there's apparent rumors of violence against other members and other supporters of those individual parties. So how does a country move forward? We all know every country has got tense elections, high intensity elections. But if it is a republic allows people to express their voices.
We need to have a safe space for dialogue.
Yeah.
Because you see that young fella, the artist, what's his name? The Holy Ten. He came out, supporting the ruling party, and people are blasting him left, right, center. Where is the dialogue?
Yeah, there's no dialogue. People should be able to debate points. Like we've got another social media socialite or social media sensation, who are saying, they support the ruling party, but they are doing that when they are walking in Paris, where things are functioning on a big roundabout in Paris, where there are lights and everything. So it doesn't really make sense, right? The diaspora is not allowed to vote. In other countries, if you're a citizen of that country, and even if you live overseas, you are allowed to cast your vote, right?
Oh, no, but they'll never allow that because they know that everybody in the diaspora is
but
not everybody, but the majority.
But we'll play devil's advocate. You don't want the diaspora to vote, but you want the diaspora remittances to sustain the people so that there's no uprising.
Well, that's an advantage that you have, because either way, people are going to send money. If we say the diaspora doesn't send money to Zimbabwe right now, if we close that country up for any sort of funds that are coming in to Zimbabwe, there are going to be a lot of issues. Trust me, a lot of issues.
So they can't pick and choose what they want from the diaspora. Let's be very frank. It's an open discussion. But
that one is not for them to choose. They're sending money because the diaspora willingly sending.
We are willingly sending money, but right, because people cannot sustain themselves.
Yes.
Right, but we are not allowed. The diaspora is not allowed to vote. There are some people who are passionate ruling party supporters. Some are passionate opposition supporters. Let them have their voice.
Advocate for that. If you don't advocate for that, it will never happen. Because, like I said, the fault it goes either way, to the people and the people in authority. Us as the general populace, if we are tired, we gotta take arms, whether arms or arms as in our vote, but we gotta take action,
Yeah, but you see, we need to verify the source, but there was an article circulating on social media, I think, where the ruling party spokesperson says that if you are not happy with us, take arms.
Yes.
Look, so are they trying to say the ruling party is a form of a colonialist?
To some extent, you find that I do agree with that. If I don't like it, I better take up arms. If it means I'm going to boycott whatever needs to be boycotted so that they can hear my plight. Yeah.
I also kind of agree with that, but I would also want to come in and then say, as much as you are saying, Joe, that yes, let's do that. If that's what we need to do, take arms. But they're speaking from a point of advantage where they know they have the guns, they have this, they have this. Where are you going to get guns to? Because we know if fights breaks out, August won the other year. What year was that? Like 5 years ago or so?
You'll be surprised that even within the military, people are tired. Even the general, what's his name, Sibanda, some of the sentiments that he is pushing out there are no longer as strongly inclined to the usual that we know that it's towards the ruling party per se. Because if you listen to some of the statement that the vice president said during the 2017, coup, not a coup, he said the liberation struggle, the defense is a beneficiary and in a stakeholder in the spoils of the liberation struggle, which means they will protect whatever needs to be protected for the ruling party.
But that was in 2017.
Yes, that was in 2017. But the sentiments within the military is changing now.
Do we have any quote or?
So if you go through, what's his name, Hopo Chingono, some of the posts that he's been putting in, let me see if I can find. Do you have Hopo Chingono's Twitter page open, Leslie? Yeah. So that's today is Defense Force Day in Zimbabwe. A day Zimbabweans reflect on the works done by their military. The commander, in chief, the commander, not in chief, the commander of Defense Forces, General Valerio Sibanda, speaks here about the main thing that has destroyed Zimbabwe: corruption.
Yeah.
That's unspoken. All right. So, and he went on to say that the ZANU-PF elite is looting.
Okay. But that's knowledge. That's everybody knows. It's nothing new. So there's nothing detrimental to those statements because it's everybody knows that. Even the international world knows that. So what does that change for?
It doesn't change anything, but it brings a bit of value or a weight to us when we are speaking that there is too much corruption there. If, figures like Sivanda are speaking out like that about the ruling party, then something is...
Okay, I'll play devil's advocate.
Yes.
At the age now of people like Commander General Sibanda, and we respect what they've done prior to 1980 in the liberation struggle. We will respect and will always validate that. These are now saying things when they have enjoyed the plunder for 43 years. Respectfully speaking, you can't say this now 43 years later. These were sentiments and statements which could have been said in 2008. Right?
These were sentiments. You can't say them without action. Just to say. What I was saying.
You can't say that. You can't say that 2008, 2013, these were sentiments which should have been said. Not to say now, even if you look at the video, yes, he still looks fit and strong. But these guys are now as I said, they are now in the twilight. They are now in their 70s. They are now reflecting on all their life, right?
Yeah.
So let's not hold some of these statements to... Yes, spoken out.
So like when they say there is no smoke without fire, you find that he is speaking because there is general sentiment within the military from the young fellas in the military complaining, struggling. Their wives are going to Parirenyatwa and there is no maternity ward. There's only one maternity ward and they are waiting in the queue. Can you wait when you're in labor? You can't wait because it's a...
it's happening. A very telling story is the late Bishop, what is it, Kuti? Ezekiel Kuti?
Ezekiel Kuti, yes.
That's a very telling story. He was made a national hero, but you know where he died? He died in South Africa, bro. Because in Zimbabwe, they couldn't help him. There was no access to health. At his age, in other countries, there are people that can help people like that.
Even Archbishop Guti, they've got a hospital in the country.
Exactly, he has a
in the country, but they could not sustain what some of the needs. So that I'm saying that's
a very
43 years. I'm sorry, what the listeners have been writing. We need a third republic, right? A third republic. Let's give the opportunity where you can vote. People can vote how they want. But the opportunity for a third republic is now calling. We will respect. What people just have to do is respect and appreciate what the first and second republic has done for the country to some extent. We can't say they've done all bad. But where the country is now is no longer sustainable. For another 5 years, look at someone who's 35. In 5 years, they'll be 40.
Okay, but a quick question though. If we are to consider that Zimbabwe is a country that is under sanctions from the United States, largely from the United States and the UK, and obviously that spills into organizations like IMF, World Bank, and other, world organizations. What do we think about their strides? What they've achieved? What they're yet to achieve, or what they think they can achieve? The lookist policy, the alignment with Russia and BRICS and all those things, supposedly. What do you think what can we make of that? The sanctions are real.
Yeah,
the sanctions are real, right? The sanctions are real. Yes, they've used some of their resources in the country to get their remittances.
The best way they possibly could.
The best way they possibly could. But it comes back that majority of the country has relied on people who are working and sending their remittances to the country.
All right. Look, coming back to the issue of sanctions, sanctions are real and sanctions are genocide. And sanction is imperialism, neocolonialism at its level best.
Oh, definitely.
That's, pressuring.
Okay, we can talk about sanctions. Look, the former government, the Rhodesian government, was under sanctions. It manufactured things. What are we manufacturing in this country?
Look at it this way. Wait, let me finish. You find when we talk about sanctions, they are real. I recommend people to read The Economic Hitman.
We've all read that book.
So times. You find that the Rhodesia during Smith, that's when the sanctions were. The administration was good. Okay, that's why things were happening. Unfortunately, during the era of our late, president, the administration was getting weaker as he was getting older. And the sanctions, when they took hold, they were much more effective. And when they were effective within the ruling party and people who were in power and everyone else at large, corruption was one of the elements that actually acted as kerosene on top of what the sanctions were intended to do, to cause further harm, because the policies and the ideas were good. The land reform ideas were good, but the diesel was given to people. The allocation of the farms and everything was mismanaged, but the idea was good. The diesel that was given to people, the tractors that were given to people were given even seeds, and people would wash the seed and eat. Whose fault is it? That's stupidity.
That's coming back to my point. I'll just pause you there. So we all agree that sanctions are crippling. Whatever you try and do, because you can't trade on the markets or whatever you can do because of the sanctions that are there. They are very crippling. And as you said, we recommend people to read the book, The Economic Hitman, how they've operated and dealt with sanctions. However, you've just spoken, your statement has already covered itself when you said poor administration, weak administration, mismanagement.
Yes.
Again, the First and Second Republic have been part of that weak management, mismanagement. Therefore, a new opportunity needs to be given to someone else.
Yeah, we can have a new CEO for the company, and company can turn around, We don't have to be emotional. We have to be practical. Things can change.
What evidence do we have that this new CEO can drive business?
What emotions? Okay. What emotions are you talking about? Because which new CEO is there? Tell me. Tell us which new CEO is there.
The one guy that we know who is set to take the stage if they win the elections. So I'm just asking about credentials.
Now, when I say
what has he proven to say? This guy is a good leader. This guy is not going to be like the first. Besides his popularity, what can we point in his way and say, look at this guy? He can
let's say, for example, like the opposition leader, is he going to be a good CEO for the company?
Exactly. That's
company,
what I'm saying.
Which is Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
And the credentials that he comes in with is, popularity, 1, charisma, 2, I haven't, dived deep into, his manifesto and everything. He's talking more of fantasy things like spaghetti roads, aeroplanes, flying from.
He's talking about things that people want to hear.
Yes. So he knows what people want to hear, but those are not, basic elements like, we need to develop our agricultural,
And this is a guy who has.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah, go
There's one manifesto on education.
Yes.
Free education.
Yes.
Is that a fantasy thing?
No, that's not a fantasy thing, but he needs to speak about it.
But the manifesto is there. Abolishing of the color curriculum. No examination fees.
Let's talk about the one on religion, his points on religion. He's talking about God, but we all know it's not everybody in Zimbabwe who
is Christian.
Who's a Christian or who believes in God. So what are we saying? Like, we all know he's a pastor, he's whatever he is, but he's a Christian. So is that a good first step into the right when we look at countries like Nigeria where there's a lot of, fighting between religions, and the fact that he doesn't recognize other religions in his first paperwork or piece of work that he has given out and said, listen, this is what we're trying to do. This is what we believe in. Is that a good first step? Like, what are we saying about him? Let's just, look at what this guy is doing. Is it enough?
Look,
what he has put out.
I have alluded before that it looks like a one-man band, right? Mm-hmm. One-man band where there's not other people who are coming to the fore, showing you other technocrats. And you have situations where everything is centralized around him. He's running, what can I say, a celebrity-style election. in a country where the electoral system or who controls the electoral system is not as transparent as other countries, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
To me, the leader of the opposition needed to bring other people around him, even though he didn't. You don't have to like people in politics. You have to get an outcome in politics.
Yes.
So all those people who he or she feels that they backstabbed each other, they did this, bring them into the tent, right? I'll give you an example of Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's brought in people into the tent who he didn't get along with for an outcome.
Netanyahu is
I'm just
different guy.
I'm just
president of the country almost 3 different times.
No, I'm giving you. No, Tina.
He has to deal with
Tina.
Every time he got into power, he has to use different tactics.
Yeah, Tina's. What I'm saying is that is what if people say they want a third republic, let's be honest. There's 2 parties in this showdown: the ruling party and the opposition, which is Triple C, led by opposition leader Chamisa, right? Those are the 2 parties. If you want to be in opposition, you bring in a tent. In countries or in countries which we reside in, even the Labour Party or the coalition, you have to get preferences from other people. Yes, you may not agree with their ideologies, but that will put you into government.
Yes.
Right? This CCC had to be a coalition of all the opposition parties under one banner.
Yes.
You bring the user party, you bring this party, you bring this party.
So the failure, because we witnessed a lot of mushrooming of parties.
Yeah.
So the failure of him actually, bringing together those parties. Guys, what are you doing? Come here. Let's work together. What do you want? Want this? Want this? Okay, let's work together. Let's
work together.
So it goes back to what I was saying. What has this guy? What credentials does this guy actually have? Bring together just the opposition, and some of those opposition guys, they have 7 voters, my guy. Yet I could agree that maybe they're just tools that are being used by the government to split the vote. But the ones that you see that are actual opposition, the fact that he hasn't even managed to bring them on board, he hasn't sold them his ideas. Because as a leader, you have to sell your ideas, get people to work with you. So, again, yeah, we're splitting wood. Eh? I've got a brother who always used to say it's called splitting wood because you're splitting and seeing what's in the center. You're splitting and seeing into smaller pieces, and so that the fire can burn properly.
And that's what we do at Amagentz Podcast. We are not picking a side. We're not picking, as I said, reading the listener mail, your heart breaks. You're now leaning to that direction of a third republic. But when you look at the supposed leader of that third republic, right? Mm-hmm. We're speaking facts now. These are the facts on the ground. The supposed leader of the third republic. Some of the points on the manifesto are good, like for education, free education, no examination fees. That's what happens in the modernized world, in modernized countries, right? Those things of digitalization, education, those are good platforms. Yes, you might talk about the religious aspect, about, God and all the other things. Those are other things which, if you were a broad church, right? A broad church with other parties, right? And you have become the leader, then you can massage your message to fit the broad church, because there's obviously different people from different spectrums of the political aisle. So my sentiment is that's where it's lacked, that we've had too many sprouting oppositions where they could have come as one versus one, right? And then it's the ultimate showdown. Mm-hmm. As our title of this segment, the ultimate showdown between His Excellency President Mnangagwa and the leader of the opposition of CCC, Nelson Chamisa. Yeah. But now you've got these little interferences of these sub-votes and little votes just being thrown, spoiler votes, which mess up everything. It's just like in the UK election system, you have all these smaller parties who end up preferencing the Labour Party, but the Labour Party doesn't have the popular vote. You know what I mean? So those are the type of things where if you can try and have a coalition of bringing that's why the name is Citizens Coalition for Change. It should have been a coalition of all the parties.
Yeah, I do agree with you, because we need to bring everyone to the party so that there is, genuine development in our country. It is the cry that we have to have, a proper development.
Yeah, fantastic. So that leads us to the end of our show. Next week, that's when the elections are happening. The votes will be there. We'll come with updates of this next election as the time comes, and we see how we go. Tinas, your last thoughts as we are wrapping up?
Just touching on that election issue. I just think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Rightfully so, a lot of people are suffering in Zimbabwe, but I think for us to have a proper answer to it, we also need to put some work into how we express ourselves and how we want to be able to change what is the current situation right now. So in regards to this, the opposition party has got to be really think about, the other time we're talking about think tanks, people who can look at things from an overall point of view, direction, and say, listen, okay, this is where you're going. You need to be going this way. And I feel a lot like the opposition party in general in Zimbabwe does not have the right people looking out for itself. And yeah, I think with that direction, they can get places because it determines what you say, how you're going to say it, what you do, how you're going to do it. It determines how you're going to even talk to people. It determines how, the engagement, just the engagement that you have with people. It's got to be different because it doesn't have to be a me point of view. It has to be an us point of view. So I think we've witnessed from the main opposition party that seemingly becoming a me rather than an us point of view. It doesn't have to be about you getting into power. It has to be about everybody in Zimbabwe benefiting from eventually you being in power. But you've got to empower the first person that you speak to. And you don't empower the first person that you speak to by saying, "Inini ndakapinda," or "if I get into power, I'm going to do this." No. Say, "My guy, let's do this
together."
Exactly.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of work to be done there.
Awesome debate, guys. Awesome discussion. So again, that's all for today at Amagentz Podcast. Stay tuned for more updates on the Premier League. Our first segment, we had a bit of fun there. We'll be talking about that. Premier League, NBA, La Liga. It's going to be all sports here on Amagentz Podcast. We'll give you updates of the Zimbabwean election. Next week, Wednesday, the 23rd, that's when the election happens, results. So we'll come back to the Zimbabwean topic once we hear a clear indication of all the results with all the data, all the information on after the election. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, more news, analysis, sports coverage on Amagentz Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. See you soon.